Today we're going to talk about a little bit more about how we're going to read the novel. Last class period we talked about the name of our novel, which is Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. We also talked about a little bit about the author, Sharon Creech, and her life. Now we're going to start reading the novel, and we're going to start with chapter 1, page 1, and we're going to talk about annotation. I want you to be active readers, and that means that I want you to read with awareness and purpose. And one of the ways to learn how to do this is with annotation. And annotation just means taking notes as you read. And you're going to take notes about what you understand about the novel and also how you feel and what you're thinking about as you read the novel. So annotation is really important. Now, usually when we think about annotation, we think about you're looking at a page in your novel and you have the left side and the right side of the margin. On the left side, you'll be taking notes about the reading of what you understand. And on the left side, you'll be making comments about your thoughts and your feelings as you read. Now, on a novel, the margins are so narrow that it's hard to take good notes. So sometimes the best thing that you can do is make yourself a chart. And you will see in our first reading packet, I've given you a sample chart. And it looks a little bit like this. We're thinking about left margin is what I understand as I'm reading, and the right margin is what I think and feel as I'm reading, and questions that I might have about the reading. Maybe there's something that I don't understand and I'll make a question there. Maybe there are some things that remind me about something in my life and I can make a note of that also. The questions that you write here you'll be able to bring to class, and in your reading groups you'll be able to ask your classmates what they think the answers to some of your questions might be. And then we'll discuss them as a class together. In a real book, the middle here would be the text of the novel, and this would be our left margin and this would be our right margin. However, we're going to be doing it on a chart so you have more room. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at, I've copied here just a portion of the first paragraph of the novel so that I can show you what I want you to do and how we're going to do this active reading. So to begin with, we're going to look at our first sentence here, and it says, Gramps says that I am a country girl at heart. So here's our first sentence. Gramps says that I am a country girl at heart. I'm just going to show you where I'm looking. Okay, it's not the end of the sentence, but I'm going to start talking and thinking about that. Now, the first note that I have is Gramps. Now, Gramps to me sounds to me like grandfather. And so I think that probably Gramps is the name for a grandfather. And what I'm thinking and feeling is Gramps, a typical name in the United States for a grandfather. I think it might be. That's my thought. I do think it might be a typical name. So I think that Sal is talking about her grandfather and that this is his opinion. Now, he says that I am a country girl at heart. Now, I can understand country girl, but I'm not sure exactly what that means. I've heard that expression before, and I've definitely heard the expression country music. So maybe it has something to do with that. But what I really think it has to do with is country girl as not in a city. So I think that maybe Sal grew up not, I'm going to just put it like that, not in a city. It's the first chapter of the book, so I don't know for sure, but that's what I think. Now, what about this at heart? I'm not exactly sure what that expression means, but I know that my heart is in the center of my body. So I know that. And it's a very important part of my body. I can't live without one. So I think that it's showing importance, some kind of importance. Also, heart is always connected to our feelings. So I think that maybe Sal feels in herself, sorry, I'm going to put that over here, like a real country girl. And that's my thought about that. She says, I have lived, and she says that is true, which I think is really important. So I know that she agrees with Gramps. And that makes me feel like Gramps knows her really well. Okay, so she says, I have lived most of my 13 years in Bybanks, Kentucky. So there are two things I'm thinking here. I can tell from that she is 13 years old. That's easy for me to see from the sentence. And then I see Bybanks, Kentucky. Definitely it's a place. And because I'm not from the United States, I'm going to definitely, I need to go to a map and look up Kentucky. Where is that? I think that it is in the south of the United States somewhere, but I'm not sure. And the other thing that I want to think about is Bybanks. My question about Bybanks is it a real place, or is it just in the novel? And I think I want to find out about that, if it has anything to do with what we learned about Sharon Creech. And I remember we did talk about that a little bit, so I'm going to go back and check and see if Bybanks really exists. And then she says, it's not much more than a caboodle of houses. Okay, this is tricky for me because I've never heard the word caboodle before. So I'm making more notes, obviously, what a caboodle might mean. But it says of houses, so I definitely think it must be a group of houses. I know that. And it does, to me, it means a group, but I don't know if it's big or small. And I'm interested in finding out if it's big or small. So I'm going to continue to read the sentence. It says here, roosting. And that is a really strange word for me, but I do remember hearing about chickens. I've read something before about chickens roosting. So my question, and I'm writing a lot down here, my question is, what do those houses look like? Do they look like they're just sitting on top of where they are, or do they look like they're really settled, like they've been there for a long time? When I think about chickens roosting, sitting on their eggs, they stay for a long time, so maybe those houses look like they've been there for a while. It does say, in a green spot. And I know that, I'm sorry, I have to put this up here, I know that spot is definitely small. I know that. So I'm pretty sure that Bybanks, Kentucky, I've decided now that it must be a small town or a small place. It's not large and it's not a big city. And then I see that it's alongside the Ohio River. And the Ohio River is another place that I'm going to be looking up in a map to see exactly where it is. So this is how we begin with annotation. And what I would like for you to do for homework is I'd like you to continue chapter 1